Welcome to my next From Season 1 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you are caught up to the point where I am every watching or watching from, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you found that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. Now, I've already seen the first two seasons of From. I'm revisiting the show to get ready for season 3. I'm actually going to review every single episode of season 1 and season 2 before season 3 comes out to have them ready on the channel, since this was voted by all of you to be the show that I cover next. And of course, I'll review season 3 as it airs, as well as every season thereafter, because I really like the show. I find it really entertaining and very amusing, although I feel like maybe when the show's over with, it might be a letdown. It's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, a TV series, where like there's going to be strange things, and there's going to be some twist of why all these strange things are happening. Not necessarily what's going to happen, but I don't know. It seems like that's the route they'll take. But anyway, like the show, and I wanted to cover it for the channel. So with all that said, this will be From Season 1, Episode 2. The title of this episode is called The Way Things Are Now. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we start with a brief flash forward in which we find out what happens by the end of the episode. So it's set in the future, but like an hour into the future, a couple hours. Out in the forest during daylight, a blood-stained Kenny furiously chops at a tree with an axe. Then we go to the RV at night. Ethan stops seizing when he hears movement outside and someone asks if they are okay. And Jim thinks the townspeople have returned for them, but Boyd refuses and restrains him. Meanwhile, Kenny leads his group to the colony house, and they struggle to make it through the rain. Father Khatri, who is carrying a unconscious Jade, falls, and Kenny helps him up. However, the people inside the house or inside sound the alarm. Fatima tries to let them inside, but the guard doesn't believe that it's really them, because you know what happens at night. As the creatures approach, Donna arrives and grants them entry. However, she orders that Tabitha and Julie be tied up per their protocol, unfortunately. In the RV, Jim asks Boyd and Christy what the creatures are, and Boyd doesn't answer that. Or answers that he doesn't know, only that the talisman prevent their entry into enclosed spaces. Ethan then wakes up, but Christy quickly sedates him to keep him calm. Inside Colony House, Ellis ties Jade to the bed, while Trudy asks about the cars and like looks at his watch and everything. After Ellis stops Trudy from stealing his watch, she remarks that he's attractive. As he leaves, he has her promise not to touch anything, though she stays just to look at him. Donna approaches Tabitha in the room she is being kept in and apologizes for their treatment of her, cutting her ropes loose. Tabitha immediately makes a run for it, but is stopped by an armed guard. Donna sits down with her and explains that though none of it makes sense to Tabitha right now, there are precautions that they must take, and promises that no one wants to hurt her or her daughter. And then they have all been in her shoes before. Donna then begins to explain the situation of the town. Downstairs, Victor retrieves a can of peaches from the pantry near where Julie is tied up. And Victor remarks that two cars haven't been seen together in a long time, and asks her what she thinks it means. As Julie begins to cry, Fatima arrives and shoos Victor away, apologizing for him and explaining that he has simply been trapped there for a very long time, but he's harmless. She further apologizes for the restraints, but explains that it's only because they don't want anyone to get hurt. Fatima then unties Julie and shows her Ellis's room, which is covered in artwork, remarking that he'd love to draw Julie because she is beautiful. Well, yeah, she is. Fatima then shows her the view from the window in order to show that if you climb high enough, even a nightmare can resemble a dream. And then we go back to the RV. A voice outside that says that they should have let them help. A scared Jim asks what happens if they get in, but neither Boyd nor Christy answer. Boyd calms him by reminding him that with the talisman up, they can't get in. Christy also begins to get rattled, but Boyd reminds her that the creatures are just playing their usual tricks. Then they hear footsteps on the roof, but Boyd tells them to focus on Ethan. Back at the colony house, Kenny complains to Father Cottry about getting guns pointed at them, when Alice tells them that there's a room prepared for them. Kenny and Alice begin to argue over who's to blame for them almost getting stuck outside, but Cottry calms them. Then at the clinic, Kenny's father wins a game of chess against Gina, who declares herself not very good. Kenny's father tells her that she is good, but he is simply better. He explains that when he came to America, he couldn't speak English, but he could play, and that was like a universal language. Gina remarks that it's nice that he taught Kenny, and Kenny's father says that Kenny's name is actually Fu Han, but Kenny wanted to be American and have an American name. Kenny's father then begins to get confused and starts speaking Cantonese before declaring that he wants his son. Gina calms him down and promises that Kenny will be back tomorrow. Back at the RV, Christy leads Boyd and Jim in successfully pulling the table leg out of Ethan's leg. And then at the clinic, Sarah talks to herself near Toby's body and declares that she doesn't want to and can't do it before apologizing to Toby's body. So Sarah, not necessarily all there. We'll see eventually what's going on with Sarah. And then at the colony house, Kenny drinks with Father Cottry and worries about his mother before talking about how even when his father's dementia gets bad, he can still remember chess. Kenny further compliments Christy's care for his father, and Cottry promises that they will all be okay and that they'll get them in the morning. Kenny, however, says he won't go out, explaining that he is hanging by a thread and cannot find any more bodies. Upstairs, Ellis returns to his room and takes off his shirt before noticing that Julie is sitting on the couch. Ellis awkwardly redresses as the two introduce themselves. Meanwhile, Tabitha calls Donna crazy after getting the full debriefing. Donna laughs before questioning Tabitha on the number of times she drove along the loop and notes that she saw the creatures. Tabitha replies that she doesn't know what she saw, and Donna laughs and says her sister said the same thing. As she pours them drinks, Donna explains that she and her sister were on a hunting trip when they saw the tree and the crows just a bit before sunset. Instead of doubling back, they pressed on and arrived in the town after dark. The first time they drove through, they saw some people on the road. The second time, a smiling creature stood in front of the car. Donna's sister exited the car with a shotgun and threatened the creature, who proceeded to rip her sister's face off. Face Off, a good movie, by the way. Kind of a random thought. Donna recalls running until she found a hiding place in the forest and listened to the screams of her sister as the creatures tortured her. Donna tells Tabitha that she was lucky that the sun was still out when she arrived. Donna finishes by saying that she has been trapped in the town for 3 years, 6 months, and 17 days, and she can still hear her sister screaming. Meanwhile, Jim notices that the saline is kept in a mason jar. Christy explains they have little in the way of supplies, save what they stripped from an ambulance a few years prior, but most of it is improvised. Jim asks if she is a doctor, and she explains that she was a third-year medical student and asks him his profession. Jim explains that he helped build roller coasters and theme parks, and Christy notes that he is still using the present tense. Ethan wakes up and says he saw drawings on the wall while up in the colony house. Victor's room is adorned with exactly that as he draws the scene of their car crash. Kenny and Father Cottry drunkenly climb the stairs while Kenny talks about his father's dementia diagnosis. One night, his father left the house and took the bus all the way into the city, and on the way back, they became trapped in town. In town, Sarah showers in her home while her brother knocks on the door outside and says that he'll get dinner started. A tearful Sarah then tells Nathan that she didn't have a choice and asks for his help. In the clinic, Gina leaves Kenny's father to go check on Toby. She brings him a tray of food only to find his bloody corpse. She sees that the creatures have made it inside and rushes back to the basement. In the RV, Christy has a nightmare that the creatures have broken in, but she wakes up to find that it is morning. Kenny, Father Kotri, and the Matthews, Julie and Tabitha arrive at the scene where the RV is in a van, and the family happily embraces. Back in town, Sarah reminds Nathan of a story about a little girl in a room filled with broken glass. The little girl knows the pieces used to be something or be something, but in trying to put the shards back together, they cut deep into her skin. Nathan begs her to tell him what she did, and Sarah reveals that she left the clinic door open. As the van pulls up to the clinic, Kenny sees the door open and rushes inside and finds Gina's corpse in the basement. Kotri tries to tell him he doesn't have to see this, but Kenny walks further inside and finds his father's torn apart body, which he cradles and sobs over. Kenny then goes out in the woods and begins furiously chopping the tree, which we saw at the beginning. Boyd finds him and asks him what he's been doing, and Kenny explains he needs wood for the new chess set, which he and his dad made together, but is now ruined by the blood. Kenny recalls how every game he played with his father always ended up with him down to his final piece, desperately avoiding his father's. Kenny then points out that the creatures always walk and never run, as if they know there are only so many places that people can go. Kenny then hands him the bloody chess piece and concludes that they are running out of space on the board. And then Boyd then returns to his office and erases the sign that he had said Nights Without Incident 96. Then back at the Colony House, Julie tells another story with Ethan's toys, telling him that everything will be okay. However, Ethan is distracted by a vision of a boy in white outside the window who shushes him, and that's what ends this episode of From. So pretty good stuff. Still a very interesting story. I'll give the episode a 7.9 out of 10. And my characters of the episode, I think I have to go with Kenny for the males, and for the females, I'm going to go with Donna. I think Donna's a really cool character. So those are my thoughts regarding this episode. Now I want to hear what you have to say. If you're a fan of From and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of From. Remember to come back to the channel for all my reviews of From. They're going to be sporadic. You might want to have the bell turned on for notifications because they're going to be at all different times, because I got to get all 20, which this will be 2 that have already been done, before September 22nd. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your score and your characters of the episode. I'll put video suggestions here, and here. I'll put my Dexter stuff. I'll put my Lost stuff and a couple other things. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. If you're watching the video anyway, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a person special. You never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.